Going live, we are live. Let me just share it on our page.
Let 2 minutes and 28 seconds.
No, man, that's not from the beginning of the live.
Ah.
Da, 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 da. There's the live. Share the page. Dance it out, because we're all okay. My rhyming skills.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are going live. We are already live.
We are live.
Sharing
we're all
liveness.
So we are so excited. If anyone is tuning in live, we're going to be talking today about NLP. Before we even jump into that, my name is Cole.
My name is Ty. And
we are Ty
Cole, and this is the
Mentor in the Mirror podcast. And today we've got our amazing friends, Deb and Brandon Yager. We're going to be talking about NLP, what it is, how you can use it in a time like right now, and why it could be a really good tool for you. It's, we've gotten to work with them before at our retreats. And so it's been a really amazing tool to add to our toolbox. And yeah, let's dive in, shall we?
Welcome aboard.
Yes.
Deb,
Yay!
Thank you. We love you guys.
We love you.
So before we even get into, let's just get into first explaining what NLP is, because I think there may be people listening right now that don't know what NLP is before we even start.
Yeah, so NLP stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming. And so everybody explains it different. It's kind of like the word hypnosis. If you ask one person what hypnosis is, they'll give you a completely different answer. So we can only speak for ourselves. So NLP, N stands for neuro. So neurology, the science, but I call it just the science of the mind in general. And then linguistics is for L. And so we talk about language we use internally as well as how we express ourselves externally with our words. But not only that, we also have our body language. And then P stands for programs. And I like to think of it as the software that we run at the unconscious level. And combined, it's a study of how the conscious and the unconscious mind work together to create the results that you want in your life or not the results that you want in your life. And it's a highly effective tool that you can use to reprogram yourself to success very quickly.
Exactly. So, Brandon, I have a question for you. So with clients that you guys work with, how are you showing or how are you seeing programming showing up for people right now, given the current situation everyone is in? What's the most common theme you're seeing?
Well, we've all got a story that we're telling ourselves, and many of us are telling a story of fear or scarcity or just a lot of negative stuff going on that's really controlling us. And so it's kind of our past story that is really controlling our future outcome. And so we're about rewriting that story, right? We're about reprogramming that, letting it go, taking that crap and just throwing it in the past. Sure. And so, focusing on things that are really, truly like what we want, like our goals. Like we always like to say 35%, we tend to focus on the past and letting that go, clearing out that shit. And then the other part of it is focus on future, focusing on, manifestation. What do we really want? And I think most people never get really specific on what they want. So they really don't know what they're going after. Sure. And so making sure we refine the future side of it as well as clearing out past and trauma and negative emotions and, all kinds of fun stuff that happened back there.
So what's the difference in y'all's cosmology and what you teach? What's the difference between bypassing what someone is experiencing, like just skipping what they're feeling because they're focused on the future versus, I guess that kind of like the timeline therapy that y'all do where it's about imagining the future self into the now?
Do you want me to go with this one?
You roll with it. So
in order to create the future, there must be inspired action steps to create the new you. Though if you don't go revisit some of these events that you experienced in your past, that is the gold, that is the wisdom that you can pull from to create the the new you that you want. And so what we do with the timeline therapy is very quickly do we go back and reprogram at the unconscious level some of these stories and rewrite them from the seed level. And then we consciously create the future by taking inspired action and every day showing up and being and doing and having the new person that you want to be. And it's very fast. It's very efficient with this tool. And timeline therapy is a part of NLP, but it's not traditional NLP. So the way that we teach is a little different than most schools out there. We combine hypnosis, NLP, a coaching model, as well as timeline therapy. And together, those modalities really, really create this magic ingredient for success.
So we're really like clearing out the past, and then we're helping them focus on it to take massive action, and then more stuff bubbles up, and then we do some clearing work, and then focus on the future, and then more stuff bubbles up. So it's like that. That's kind of the way our coaching, when we do high performance coaching, that's typically the process, is really making that stuff bubble up. And the only way we can make it happen is, by taking action.
Yeah.
I mean, the stuff's going to come at you, and you got to know how to take care of it.
You don't even know what to clear until you take action out of your comfort zone, because then the stuff will come up automatically. A lot of systems are, okay, go and do the work over and over in the clear out work, though you don't know really what to work on until you get it right in your face. And we call it perceptions projection, because the universe will show you exactly what you need to work on in the moment. And you talk about this in your integration program. And it's so you have the neuroplasticity in the moment to change it and learn from it very quickly.
Yeah. And that's why I love, and I relate a lot to what you just said. There is a big difference between feeling like you need to fix everything in the past in order to move forward versus taking brave steps forward and trusting anything in the way will reveal itself, right? Instead of thinking I need to fix everything that happened, it's actually saying, what do I want and what is in the way of what I want, and then calling that in. It's a far more effective, efficient way to not only create a life that you love, but to build a business, to build a relationship. All of that requires some perceivably scary steps.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like the syndrome of getting ready to get ready. Wait, I think I need to clear out some more of my past.
Oh, I did that for years.
Wait, I'm not done yet.
Me too.
I got to clear out more. Right? And then you got to eventually, at some point, we've got to take action. And that's a challenging thing for coaches too. Like, we can get caught up in the clearing work, but it's like, we also got to focus on what we really want, so that the clearing work actually comes even easier, because it's more refined. You know what to focus on to clear out. So
what does the clearing work look like?
Majority of it, I mean, it's conscious and conscious. It's integrating the unconscious and the conscious mind. All of our work is fairly conscious, but it's really diving deep into the unconscious. So, going back to, I mean, before, during, or after birth, I mean, it's whatever someone is, comfortable with, whatever their beliefs are, taking them as far back as they believe.
Do you have an example, maybe even of you or Deb, of times, so that we can really kind of pin this for people to see contextually if they haven't heard of NLP before, or at least an example of how you guys work?
So I'll give you a specific example. We work with a lot of people with sales and rewriting their story around sales. Sales in itself is highly triggered for a lot of people. Same thing with money. And so when they go out and proactively take inspired action, a lot of times in the sales conversation, they won't lean into objections around money, because a lot of times it's tied to self-worth. Sometimes they're afraid of getting rejected. Sometimes they don't want to be a people pleaser, or they don't want to be too pushy. They don't want to sound salesy. They have this storyline that's going in the background. And for me, I struggled a lot with sales because I had this underlying program when I was like 5 to 7 years old. My mother was a very wonderful woman, and she had a lot of stuff she was working on during the time that I was growing up. And she hated telemarketers with a passion. I mean, like, freaking hated them. And I remember one day in the living room, and I hear this scream out of the kitchen, and she's like, "How dare you call me at this time? Don't you know?" And then it's like slamming the phone down. And I see the telephone cord, those old ones, wrap around the hallway. And I'm like, like this cat, like jumping up in the air. And so that was my association. If you call somebody, if you're doing a cold call, or if you call people in general, they're going to be pissed off. You're bothering them, and it's not the right thing to do. And so that was getting pulled into my sales conversation. So every time I would pick up the phone, I was afraid that person was going to be pissed off and they didn't want to talk to me. They didn't want to have, she also had all these stories about people being, manipulative and controlling.
Sleazy, sales was bad. If you're a salesperson, you're not, you're not a smart person.
You're all about the money. It's greedy to ask. And we hear this all the time in the COVID situation. Like you need to have white gloves when you're going to sales conversations because you can't ask for the sale right now because people don't have money. So like this is amplified these stories that people are telling themselves around sales and money. And some of it has to do with our programming as child or in your childhood. Sometimes it's passed on genealogically. So for me specifically, when I figured out what that trigger was that was causing me to avoid the telephone, avoid sales calls. In fact, I actually destroyed 4 telephones before I figured this out.
So Deb dragged this into her future. When we met, that's when this kind of, I was like, what do you mean you're afraid of the phone? Like,
I never checked my messages because I was afraid of confrontation because if I picked up the phone and listened to the message, then that meant that I had to do something about it. And so unconsciously, I rolled over my phone with a car. I drowned it in a foot bath. I dropped it in a toilet. And then I also drowned it with a water bottle in my purse. And I'm like, okay, so first time is interesting. Second time is a pattern. So 3 times is definitely a pattern. 4th time, like, I don't know what to tell you.
It was an expensive 90 days there of
like wow, the more 90 days. And I'm thinking, I'm like, maybe this is over 2 or 3 years. 90 days.
It was extremely. It was extremely
2 of them was in 90 days. He didn't see all of them. There was definitely a pattern. And so when I cleared out the work, and then I went back and I did the releasing with the timeline and reprogramming my story around sales, and then proactively took action to then put myself out there and go through rejection over and over again, go and have no's and have people be pissed off at me and have people hang up the phone on me and realize getting through the other side that I was okay. Every time I did it, I got stronger. Every time that I put myself out there to have my ego, my small ego, crushed, and my true self, my inner source shine through, I got stronger and stronger. My self-worth built, and I also became more in love with myself each time. And so that's what we mean. It's like going out there, figuring out what the trigger is. If there is any clearing in the past, then do it. If not, then maybe just in the moment, then you need to learn through the process of it. Find the wisdom from the opportunity and then go take more action, get more feedback, get triggered again, find the wisdom. And so it's like this feedback loop of you creating the new you.
And there's lots of techniques in that clear out work.
Yeah.
The big picture is getting the learnings that you couldn't get then, but now you can.
Yeah.
So that it rationalizes why there's that emotion or why is that limiting belief, that false belief still exists. So it's getting that and figuring that out.
Yeah.
And it's profound. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, we talk about it in a different way with what we do, that your body and your brain is habits. The connections are from habit, either impact or repetition or both, right? Yep. If something happened that was a big impact over and over again. So the thing is, when it comes to repatterning your brain, you can, and as Ta always says, you can brainwash yourself, right? We're all brainwashed. It's knowing that you can wash your own laundry.
You're doing your own laundry.
Right. So that is a lot of what NLP affords is first we have to be aware, which in taking those brave steps, we become aware of what was in our blind spot before. You know what I mean? If we stay back behind the curtain of something, of course, we're not seeing the triggers. And it can be scary to step out in front of the curtain and look around and find out that there are these things that are really holding you back. And it's a lot easier to say that the curtain is holding you back, right? Like, well, I can't see through this curtain, so why would I just step to the other side? What if there's a cliff or a monster or a bear or whatever? And I think that's where a lot of people are getting trapped up right now is that, with everything going on, I don't know what is here as far as risk. I know what I hear, I know what I see. And so it's creating new neurological pathways, new neural pathways that I assure you, you guys and us are not going to be out of a job anytime soon, because the programming of this current crisis is creating new pathways of fear, of proximity, connection, intimacy, trust, and everyone is the victim everyone is the aggressor because everyone can carry the virus and you'll never know, right? So we are already teaching ourselves to brace ourselves for human contact because it could be deadly.
Right. No, and that's something we're going to talk about too in the training this weekend. We're going to talk about how there's no eye contact right now. I mean, there's so much shaming going on. It's unbelievable. Yeah. So we're going to talk about that.
Or the fear of getting shamed too. There's a lot of fear.
People are being silenced. You know, we talk about, when you look at something like the Me Too movement, where we were really saying, use your voice, speak up, me too, that happened to me too. And now we're telling people, be quiet, don't say that. How dare you? And so we're going back to being the oppressors. Every time we shame someone for using their voice, if you really believe the narrative that you're ascribing to, then you teach. Shaming is becoming the oppressor. You're becoming the one to say, shut up. Like, I can't tell you how many times I posted something and someone said, I can't believe you would share this. How dare you? I'm so disappointed in you. You are silencing somebody's voice. And if you really care, and if you're really about life, then what we have the opportunity to do is to learn how to communicate and to learn, because I know that by reading lots of different perspectives, it gives me consideration of what other people are up against. And right now, what's being built in and programmed in is going to impact this generation and the generations to come, just like the Holocaust has. And we can see it in genetic expressions and medical conditions and scarcity, as far as like physiological scarcity. So for you guys, I know you have a training coming up this weekend. What is the training that you guys do specifically? Who is it for? So if someone's listening and maybe they're a coach or they're in sales or they have a business, how would they know if learning NLP is beneficial for them?
Yeah, I think it's interesting, the topic of shaming in general. I've seen a lot of people actually lash out on people doing sales and shaming around sales. In fact, it actually happened to me in a marketing campaign that we were doing for LinkedIn. And I got 2 emails by a very disgruntled 2 individuals that were like, how dare you?
Coaches, nonetheless. These are coaches.
How dare you sell your services right now and all this stuff. And it was a really great opportunity for me to check my own projections and work on some soul stuff at the unconscious level. I want more now than ever for coaches, light workers, consultants that are truly out there solving either helping people break through their stuff or helping people pivot, helping them be financially prosperous, helping them get in control of their mind, helping them think for themselves, helping them teaching people how to think and not what to think, to get out there and please sell what you're doing. We need it more than ever. This is why we're here on the planet. This is why we actually chose to come in at this time, is to step up and change the world one person at a time. And it's through our unique gift. And part of that is learning how to sell what you offer. And we find that people are so good at what they do. There's something holding them back when it comes to communicating their message and asking for the money, especially now more than ever. The problem is that if you don't charge top dollar for what you do, people don't get value out of it. It's out of alignment, it's out of integrity, and it's coming from scarcity, and it's actually setting your client up for failure in the beginning. So that's what this training is about. It's about how to charge what you're worth in any economy.
So who is it for? Business owners, coaches, entrepreneurs, anyone, especially right now with so many people losing their job. People that are going to be going out into the world for the first time, maybe in a long time, and haven't had an interview with somebody trying to hire them from across the table. So that's like an up level in communication to really get the job and land the job of your dreams. Because a lot of times there's a talent stack that is not, it's a gap in skill set, right? And so this is going to fill that gap. I mean, this is going to be able to handle objections with confidence, obliterate objections, because you've got language that you can actually critically think around. Well, you know, how could this not be a good time for them to buy right now? Like, how could that be possible? And just break through money blocks using language and communication. And was something I was thinking about this weekend, and I meant to say it, I did, and I'll say it now. We use language and words to describe the world we live in, right? We just use language and words to describe, when in reality, language and words determines where in the world we live, right? And language is so important, I think, especially for coaching, because you know when someone's away from motivated, you know when they're focused on what they don't want because they say exactly what they don't want, and the same person continues to manifest exactly what they don't want. And it's like, it's not a shocker. They're just really good at manifesting shit they don't want. So yeah, that's kind of, I don't know, did that cover it?
Yeah. Well, and the thing is along the idea of sales, when you get to the truth of it, we're always selling people something. If you bring your kids for dinner and you say you can have chicken nuggets or you can have macaroni and cheese, hopefully you're not, that's a different episode. When you're trying to convince your children to eat something because you don't want to prepare 2 meals, so you're like, hey, we're going to choose this and we're going to do this because it's shaped like little Mickey Mouse ears, and because of this, you are selling your child on the outcome that you want them to have. That's selling someone, right? Or if your spouse asks you, what do you want to go get for dinner? Right. And you're like,
where do you want to go on vacation? You're selling 2 different locations, right?
Thank you. That's perfect.
The process of influence.
Or selling your spouse into sex, or
these shoes or these pantyhose.
Selling your spouse into getting into a coaching opportunity to change the relationship. We're all in sales. And unfortunately, in our culture, it has been a dirty word. And we want to debunk and change the way everybody views sales, because it's just really communication and transformation. I believe sales is a spiritual process for the facilitator and the person on the other side, because they're solving a problem and they're investing in themselves. Something
we talk about in the training is like this process of influence. We say, okay, so if you don't like sales, let's just call it the process of influence. And what's interesting is people they say, well, I don't want to be manipulated, right? I don't like people who manipulate. What's interesting about the people who typically have a problem with manipulation is they're not confident in communicating exactly what they want the other person to do. And what they typically do, not everyone, some of the time, part of the time, maybe some people can relate to this, is they're actually trying to get them to do something without clearly communicating what they want, what they expect, clear expectations, and they're breaking down boundaries because they're not confident to come out and just ask for it, right? Just say what you want, and that is manipulation in its finest, and that's not sales. That's not sales. That's not the way we teach it. That is not the way we communicate it. And so we make sales, we bridge business and spirituality. That's what we're doing. We're bridging business and spirituality, that conscious language, and the unconscious spiritual side that money flows. Money is, it's energetic. And yes, you have to get people to open up their wallets and give it to you. And so there's a cycle there. There's a whole flow of damning it and, receiving it and giving it. And so we talk all about that in the training.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, even the idea that manipulation is a bad thing. Ta was my biggest teacher for the idea of manipulation. One, the truth was manipulation made me angry because of how much I had manipulated, right? So that was the mirror reflection that I would not stand to be manipulated. Why? Because I knew how good I was at it. So if I caught someone, then it made me angry because I knew I was being manipulated, right? But the truth is manipulation isn't a bad thing. It has a bad connotation. If I'm, manipulating my cell phone, manipulating is just that I'm getting it to do something. That doesn't make it, that doesn't make it inherently good or bad. It is a process. It's something that is happening. It is, like you said, it is our association to manipulation.
Yeah, and the coupling, we have a lot of coupling of words to feelings and events that have happened in our lives. And a big part of what we do is we help people to uncouple what they've synchronized with certain words like sales, words like manipulation, words like sex, words like I'm in love with you. These words are always coupled with something, and people can get into a space where they will not participate with other human beings and they don't know the context. And the context of which you use the words is very important. So I'm going to bring something up right now. So you guys have been saying unconscious, and we use subconscious. And from where I'm from, unconscious means you're completely unaware. You don't know anything. You're just not a conscious person, right? So I had to actually reframe that in talking to a lot of different people who use unconscious in the fashion that we use subconscious. And I'm not sure if you guys are using it in exactly the same way or even remotely close, but this is the thing. It's the context with which you use it. And when you understand if you don't like something, you could always ask a person, hey, what does that mean to you? What does sales mean to you? And what are the feelings behind it? And I really appreciate that y'all are in here getting people to really reframe and create a new dialogue, a new dialogue with the self around sales, around business, around how people interact with their environments. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Love that. Thank you, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think
subconscious, unconscious. I guess unconscious because it just is. And yes, we also use it like, wow, that's a very unconscious statement. I mean, that's out of awareness. So,
well, for us, the unconscious mind is the part of that we're not totally conscious of. And we don't use subconscious because we were taught, again, it comes back to the way that the information was passed down to us, that subconscious gives a underlying theme that it's not as good. And we believe the unconscious mind is equally as powerful as the conscious mind. And so that's why we just say it's just unconscious part of you. And there's parts of it that are subconscious, but we talk about the programming at the unconscious level.
And we use subconscious. It kind of depends on the context.
Sure. And I love that you depicted that we have associations to certain words. And the goal of this training is for people to get really good at understanding language, that the words that we use have specific meanings. They have stories, they have movies, they have events that are attached to every individual, and every individual is a unique blueprint of how they perceive those words. Yeah. And so in sales, it is one of the best way to learn how to communicate and unpack and unlock these words for people, because it is your responsibility to know as much as you possibly can about this person to figure out if it's a good fit. Right. And we say that the coaching actually starts in the sales cycle. And so you're putting on your coaching hat of unplugging, unlocking, letting go, and seeing what these limiting beliefs are and these associations with the words they use and why they use it in a certain order. Because you want to figure that out before you move forward if they're a good fit. Otherwise, you'll get buyer's remorse. And I think that's why a lot of people have labeled sales in a negative way, because the salesperson does way too much talking and not enough listening to what the client is saying, and not enough good enough questions, or not enough conscious use of language and unpacking the words to really find the meaning behind what the person is saying.
So you can actually serve the client, the prospect better at a higher level.
Yeah, I think that's huge, because like you said, when it comes to sales, like first of all, if I want to sell, Ta says all the time, I could sell someone their own ass if it is my intention to sell someone on something.
I saw Cole sell somebody a package on watching their fingernails grow. I'm going to show you your fingernails grow. It's just $69.95 a month. Just watch, take these pictures, and you'll see.
Well, the thing is, I've been trained in every type of sales there is. And even when I worked for Alex Sharfin and selling short sale designations, I didn't know anything about it. It didn't matter. What I did understand was there were people that needed the product, right? They needed the designation for their business. And so even though I've been trained in every type of sales, I understand that when you ask the right questions, I can see if it's the in alignment for a person, so that there isn't buyer's remorse. The only time someone has pulled out of working with us is because they had some personal thing come up that financially we felt in our integrity to return the money so that they could redirect it where it needed to go. Now, that being said, if someone came back to me because they were afraid they had spent the money, and we do address things ahead of time, just like you said, through language, we can identify where someone is in their process and their belief system, because they may believe they are so uniquely damaged that even we can't help them. And if they believe that coming in, then the perception will be we're taking their money because it didn't work. And knowing those things ahead of time will save you on a coaching perspective. I don't want someone to come on board that doesn't believe that they can make changes, because that's not fun for me, and no amount of money is worth that dynamic. So I think that anyone listening right now, if you're not familiar with NLP, you have a really unique opportunity if you haven't done this work. And I don't care if you're a musician, you are selling something, you are selling yourself, right? And so there's so many directions that when you understand these language things, when you understand that If you believe that wealthy people or the top 1% of this country are evil, you will never reach high levels of wealth because you would be associating yourself with the undesirable. These things are critical to know, because I know from our perspective in shifting our money stories through things like NLP that I had made associations that I made just enough. I always made just enough. Why? Because I don't need that much. But every time I wanted something, I could manifest that amount of money hustling. But then it was that flux that was a little stressful, right? Because it was feast, famine, feast, famine. So I think that anyone listening right now, whether you're running your own business, you're a coach, you're a musician, having this kind of training is a huge, huge opportunity. And I believe it to be a game changer, which is why we wanted to share it. And Brandon and Deb have a training this weekend that you can join virtually. So if you guys can share more about that, give people some time and that kind of thing, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so we start on Friday. We start half day. It is from 1 to 7 p.m. and Saturday and Sunday it's full days. So we start from 10 to 7 p.m. We are running a special. So normally this training is a $9.95 value, and we are marking it down so everybody can jump in and take it now, because that's how passionate we feel that it is a necessary thing for a lot of people out there to get out there and take inspired action to really change the world through your unique gift. So the training is $195 for the
That's absurd. That's freaking absurd.
Come on. Are you kidding me? Get out of here. You should be sign up.
Yeah, that's absurd.
That's ridiculous.
That's the game changer really when it comes to business. Like I said, if we didn't start to understand these language things, we wouldn't be where we are. We are not being impacted by this current situation as far as our business is concerned. Why? We are unapologetic of what we offer. And because of that, and because we show up and we give lots for free, and it's not cheap to work with us either, people know that. And I'm still investing in things. Yeah. Yes. Like the fact for me, like I just got this ring from a jeweler named Patango, right?
It's gorgeous.
Nice.
Why? Because this is kyanite, and kyanite helps you clear out the bullshit. And then it's got serpents, and I ran into a rattlesnake this week. So it's not this ring as a piece of jewelry. It's a symbol and a reminder not to let the noise disrupt the transformation that's happening, like to stay grounded in myself and my truth. So his rings are not cheap, but that's because I'm not buying a ring. I'm buying a symbol and a talisman and a reminder, right? And by the way, this ring costs more than their training. So please, for the love of everything.
So that's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
Yep.
Yes,
so
first,
starting off on May Day.
Yeah.
Mayday. This course is 195.
Well, this is great timing too, because we're coming out of this whole COVID stuff, and it's like, this is a great time. It's a fantastic time to like start really getting motivated, get inspired, because we got to get out there. We got to work a little harder.
Get some skills right now.
Some people lost an entire quarter, we practically lost an entire quarter of income. So it's like time to like ramp it into overgear and kick some ass, take some names.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, the reason that we are doing well in this crisis is because we pivoted immediately. We didn't sit back and go, oh no, what are we going to do? We reached out to everyone we knew. We said, what do you need? How can we support you? What do you need? How can we support you? And the first 2 weeks we were just giving, checking in with people, making sure mental health was sound. We had 2 suicides the first 2 weeks. We had another this past weekend. We've still been managing a lot and serving a lot, but this is where the leaders rise. So anyone listening right now, this is your opportunity to step forward, to step in, to lean in, to be brave. Even if you're not venturing outside into the world yet, you can venture outside via virtual. And knowing these languaging things is step number 1. So you can do it in the way that functions for you and your current belief systems while we shift some of those belief systems.
And the best person to ask that about those systems is the person in the mirror. That is your greatest mentor. Everybody else is sidelined. We are sidelined. This is sidelined to the person in the mirror. So step in front of that mirror and ask, is this something that I really want to lean into? Do I really want to grow this business? Do I really want to expand into entrepreneurship? Do I really want to be able to get my interviews together when the job market comes back on? Do I want to be able to talk to my family and sell to my kids? $195 is nothing for me. Look in front of the mirror and see what it is, see what it is for you. And all of my 7 and 8 figure people that listen to this podcast, $195 is nothing.
And it's looking at what is the value of what you're investing in something. And this kind of language, like it's, again, find your tools right now for what's next, because this isn't a short sprint game we're entering. And we're talking about a 2-year, at least, race that we're entering.
This is a 3-day situation, and this is a big deal. And these people, Brandon and Deb, take their time, and they lean into you, and they lean into what they're doing, and they know what they're doing. I mean, they did some awesomeness at an event we did just recently. So we've seen it firsthand. We believe in them, and we believe in you, and this would be an awesome connection for you. So lean into it. $195. Come on, bro.
All their links will be in the show notes, but can you let people know I do have yagertraining.com already in the Facebook Live. Is that the best place for people to follow, or what's the link for people to check out the training? And I'll also put it in the show notes.
We'll get the link there. It's yagertraining.com / 3-day business training, or 3-day training, I think it is.
And then the code is Deb, DEB Biz, BIZ VIP.
We'll put that
in the show notes, and that will reduce the price to $195.
Amazing.
Nice. And it's Yager with a Y, not
yes.
a J.
Yes.
Much to my chagrin.
YAGER training.com.
Awesome. Well, thank y'all so much for joining us today on this live on Facebook.
Wait, before we go. So we always ask our guests, if you had one thing to share with our listeners and our viewers, what they could tell themselves in the mirror to really uplift themselves, what would it be to that mentor in the mirror?
In this moment?
You got everything inside of you that you need to be successful. Just believe in yourself, trust your intuition.
And create the story that you really want. Now is the time to do this, to rewrite that story with that belief, this inner belief. Powerful self-belief.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We love you.
Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, share it with a friend. And until next time, I'm Cole.
I'm Ta.
Be free.